Welcome back to Overtime here on WOTM. It's one of my favorite segments of the week. We try to churn these things out on Wednesdays. Mark, you came up with it. It's called Who's Better, and every week we'll take a look at a different dynamic. We took a look at Auburn linebackers, took a look at Alabama running backs. We'll have a different little segment in all different sports as we move along. Today we'll talk about Alabama wide receivers, but not while they were in the capstone. Taking it to the NFL and kind of judging their professional careers and trying to decide who's better. Of course, it's very subjective because all of these guys are playing in different eras. But today, we'll talk about four different players. The main ones we'll look at are Julio Jones, Ozzie Newsome, Amari Cooper, and Hutson. And I think a lot of people who don't know Hutson, you'll see all four of these guys throughout the course of this video as we break down these highlights. I think most people who were born probably in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s know a lot about Julio Jones, but maybe not all know about the great Ozzie Newsome and Hutson.
Yeah, and this also takes into account that we have Jerry Jeudy and Ruggs and Devonta Smith and Calvin Ridley. They are coming up, and pretty soon they will be mentioned in this category too. But these guys were the ones who started everything. Now, Ozzie Newsome was a tight end, but again, we're talking about receivers. There was another guy. Pass catchers. There was another guy called Tony Nathan, which I considered putting on this list, was a running back, but he was very good at coming out of the backfield. Don Hutson's a guy who was the biggest man in Green Bay before Vince Lombardi got there. 1935 to 45, the golden era, as we call it, of the NFL. Caught 99 touchdown passes. I don't even know if teams threw 99 passes from 35 to 45, but he was a real game breaker. Had 1,000-yard season back when you did not have 1,000-yard receiving seasons. It wasn't like now where everybody has a 1,000-yard season. Those guys did not really have that many back then. Just goes to show you 99 touchdowns and the type of game breaker he was, and in the NFL Hall of Fame. Ozzie Newsome was a big playmaker. He was considered the best tight end of football for a long time. Then along came Kellen Winslow, and then along came Gonzalez and some of those other guys that changed the game a little bit. But back in the late 70s, 80s, Ozzie Newsome was it. And he had played with the Cleveland Browns. Maybe that is one reason he's not as well known. But the Browns made the playoffs a couple years. They had the red-white game in 1980. They had where they lost to John Elway in 86. They made the championship game in 87, so he was on all those teams. Very popular guy in Cleveland, and now he's a great executive with Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. And so you kind of give him a lot of credit for those Baltimore championships that they had back in 2000.
He was single-handedly responsible, along with Harbaugh, later on, in building those great teams. Then you have Julio Jones, which, of course, is probably the best of this group. He has the most amount of yards. He has the most 7,000-yard seasons, and the excellence that he carries himself, the huge plays he's made, including that Super Bowl. I still don't know how he made that catch, and the fact that the Falcons couldn't take advantage of that, which I thought won the Super Bowl when he made that play. And then you have Amari Cooper, which has been in the NFL. It's going to be his sixth year. He has 5,000-yard seasons, puts up numbers every year, and it looks like he's going to be, as time goes on, as successful as Julio Jones.
Exactly, and especially with that Cowboys offense that likes to throw it around, and they've already solidified Dak Prescott as their quarterback for the future. And so if they had that two tandem together, and the defense is as bad as they are, forcing the offense to throw it around a lot, I think that you have there's a great storyline there for Amari Cooper, and if he could be that next guy. I don't know if anybody's going to put him in that Michael Irvin category, but I think he can kind of get there, and it looks like the Cowboys are kind of set on him being the number two guy, and then you'll have that other guy kind of balance it out when you have Des Bryant there. You mentioned that thing about Hutson, and one of the things I learned about as I kind of looked about his career is that his record, that 99 touchdown catches, that stood for 44 years before Steve Largent ended up breaking it. And I do think that before it's all said and done, Julio Jones will have a shot at breaking it. Julio, of course, making news this week because he's now telling Shannon Sharpe and some others that he's out of Atlanta, and Atlanta is now openly looking for a trade partner for him. So depending on where he goes, we'll see what kind of quarterback-receiver combination he'll have. I think this is a kind of a great look back at a bunch of really successful careers, both on the field for all of them, obviously, and then off of the field for Ozzie Newsome.
The other thing about Hutson, 8 All-Pro teams. There's a difference between an All-Pro and Pro Bowl.
Right.
All-Pro, you get ranked among the best by the coaches, and it's not just making the Pro Bowl is making the game of the Pro Bowl, which you can make by guys getting injured or guys choosing not to play. But Hutson made 8 All-Pro teams, meaning that they had chosen him to be one of the best wide receivers in 8 of those years. It had nothing to do with guy not playing, or nothing to do with, well, this guy's choosing to sit out the game, so we have to find a replacement.
Right.
A lot of times we'll have like the 4th, 5th string guy at the position will get a Pro Bowl role or get to play in a game because other guys just didn't want to go to Hawaii or didn't want to play in a game.
Exactly.
So an All-Pro is different. 8 All-Pros for Don Hutson. That, to me, says a huge you can't say more about a player in their NFL career. Ask anybody about who an All-Pro is during that year. And to have as many as 8, that's amazing.
Exactly. We'll quickly go over some of these statistics here, and one of the things that kind of sticks out is Ozzie Newsome played almost 200 games, but Julio Jones, it kind of shows you the times, has obviously more catches, and Don Hutson between all 4 of these had the most touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean Julio, I think Julio would get to 100, but he'll never break Jerry Rice's record. I mean that's out there in infinity somewhere. But Julio, as far as consistency and as far as big plays, the last 10 years, I don't know if there's been anybody better.
Exactly, and of these, obviously, kind of the way the game is breaking, you figure Amari is going to end up breaking both Hutson. He probably can break Hutson before the end of the year, and then Newsome's record there as well. Meanwhile, overall career numbers, we'll take a look at the overall the reception yards and the 1,000-yard years. Obviously, Julio's playing in an inflated time where these numbers are obviously going to be a little bit more inflated because they just throw the ball, and especially Atlanta throws the ball a little bit more often. And the same thing with Amari Cooper with the Dallas Cowboys. But, I mean, you have to tip your cap to both Newsome and Hutson, who played in basically a running era and still putting up the yards that they did.
Yeah, now I wanted to show why Cooper belongs in the argument. I mean, you can look at the number and say he doesn't belong anywhere on it, but he's only played 5 years.
That's right.
I came close to putting Calvin Ridley on this list. He's only been in the NFL 3 years.
Right.
And just like there are going to be other Alabama wide receivers. In 10 years from now, this will be a whole different discussion.
Oh, yeah.
But just for these guys alone, I think these numbers are a big reason why we see the game changing a little bit in Alabama and see it becoming more of a passing game because that's just where it's going.
Exactly. The quintessential question we ask each week, who's better?
So I would say out of this group, it's hard not to take Julio Jones, only because of the big plays he makes. Now, it's easy, because of the numbers. Ozzie Newsome, to me, has a special place in my heart, but he's not as far as a guy, if you need it, if you look for him on 3rd down, he could probably make a catch, but he didn't have the whole defense keying on him like Julio Jones does.
Right.
And those Cleveland Brown teams, Brian Sipe was a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, and some of the other wide receivers he had with him weren't necessarily great. So he had that maybe going against him, but they had some good running teams, and back then the NFL was a different game. Julio has just been a guy that has put up big numbers. He's going to be the #1 guy, and just from that catch in the Super Bowl, he makes plays when he has to make them. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. Hutson, how can you argue against a guy who scored 99 touchdowns back when nobody scored that many?
Exactly.
But it was just a different game. Can't really put him in that. That's not really fair to do to him. So you can give me that if you want. And Cooper just hasn't played long enough.
Exactly. I think I'll take Julio Jones as well, but I think a good thing about this specific list, and I think one thing that you brought up, I think both Ozzie Newsome and Hutson's game could translate to today. I mean, given the training and whatnot, they dominated their era, but I think that the way their games played out, I think they would be stars here today.
Imagine Hutson with this offense.
Exactly.
Forget it.
He was a big guy, had great hands as well. Another great edition of Who's Better. Thank you so much for the breakdowns there, Mark. Well, coming up next here on Overtime, some big news out of the college basketball world. We also have some interesting comments from Tua Tagovailoa, what he said down in Miami, coming up next.